everyone, welcome back to Quaternity Live. I'm Priyanka, as all of you hopefully know by now, after seeing my face at least 5 million times on this wonderful platform. And I'm joined by some incredible friends that I made at the very exciting European Championship that just happened. Y'all want to come say hi?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey guys, it's been
Hi.
so long since I've seen you, really. It's been too long.
Too long. I will agree to that.
It has been too long. I know it's only been a few days, but I really am like, that championship was a good one. It was missing seeing your faces every day. But let's go around and introduce ourselves, maybe starting with England, or the UK, I'm sorry, and then I'll just...
Yeah, definitely UK. I'm half Scottish, so I'm gonna representing for Scotland and England. Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm from the UK team. Nice to, yeah. I don't know what else I'm meant to say here.
Well, we all know you because you're on our puzzle room and you've been on our lives before, so you're a familiar face, which is nice.
It's nice to be back, as we say in the puzzle room every week. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be here in the live, yeah. I'll let everyone else introduce themselves before.
Italy, y'all want to go next?
Hi. So I'm Daria. Maybe you've seen me here. Also, I hope you have. At this point, like if you haven't, you really should and go watch all the lives and you'll see me around. But I was representing Italy this time. It was an amazing tournament. We're so thankful also for the UK team for hosting and for QCI to putting the event up. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say it was amazing.
Spain.
Hi, how are you? Well, I'm very happy to be here and to have the opportunity to discuss so many things, interesting things that happened to each of us in the tournament, because I think we were so focused in the game that maybe we didn't have much time to talk about all the experiences. So here we are.
Awesome. And Luis, I think we're very excited to invite you and welcome you to Quaternity Live. I think this is your debut, which is very exciting for all of us.
It's the second, actually.
It's a second?
Yeah,
it's a second?
The second. The first one was by playing, and now. Yeah. So I have more a clear mind right now, because the last one I couldn't play well and talk at the same time, so it was a bit half and half. So now
he said that, but he played great. I'm gonna step in here and say we did fine. It was a great
which also speaks to how well Spain did at the tournament, but we'll come to that in 30 seconds. We also have another we have our only new face, Priyanka. Shush. Germany, do you want to come say hi?
Hi, I'm Anna Sophia. I'm from Germany. Yeah, I think I was originally there as a replacement for other players, so it was a great honor to be there, and it was a really beautiful location. Like Helen's was really beautiful, and it was awesome to also meet all the players from different countries and everything. Yeah.
Incredible. Welcome to Quaternity Live. Thank you for joining us. And of course, all of us know the most beautiful, gorgeous France. Please come say hi.
Priyanka. Hi, I'm Lara. I was representing France, and yeah, you've probably seen me around by now, as you do, Daria. Yeah, so it was an amazing tournament, and I'm so excited to talk a little bit about it with all y'all. Yeah.
Incredible. So once again, I know I've said it before, but thank you all for joining us today. We already have a fair number of people who are watching this and are interested to know your thoughts. As you hopefully know by now, this is basically a fun conversation because I'm very convinced that y'all didn't tell us everything about your strategies and what you were thinking during the tournament, which is understandable. You know, you were trying to win. But now that the tournament's over, I'm hoping to get all of your dirty secrets about how you were thinking about your games and sort of where you were at mentally approaching it, and if you have any fun tactics or insights for all of our viewers who absolutely adored watching y'all following along the journey that you had at Helen's. So I think I'm very curious first off, how are y'all feeling now that the tournament's done and you actually participated in one of the most unique tournaments we've had as Quaternity? because as viewers know, but I'm happy to remind y'all, this was our first time ever working teams the way we did and having a team championship in the way we did. So what was that experience like for you guys?
I think in my case, it took a little while to sink in. You know, I got there thinking I'm going to play Quaternity. It's one of my favorite things. The place was beautiful. It was with a bunch of people that I knew and loved. So I was just excited and happy and not thinking too much about it. But it was so professional. Everything was set up in a way that as soon as I started playing the first game, I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is different. This is new. This is a whole new thing that we're doing here. I think it went well in the sense that I didn't overthink it and I wasn't too nervous before I started playing. But as soon as I moved my first piece, I was like, oh, okay. The vibe really hit you full force. And you had to think about it like, no, okay, we're doing this here.
Cool.
Yes, I think that this new format of tournament, because in other tournaments that we have participated, normally it's like individual, no? But this new format with countries, I mean, has been very interesting from my point of view. In the case of Spain, that I can talk about, actually, it's interesting because we didn't do really any like big strategy or something like that to get more points and to be higher in the ranking of countries, but we did all what we have at every moment, and this was all. And during the night, maybe we laugh about the situation and take it like easy, you know, and chilling out and everything. But we did everything we could in the games, and we didn't do really a strategy. So you have to attack this, so we get more points. So we didn't do nothing at all about that. And even though it's interesting because all of the players of the team could add some points in the total ranking, which, well, Spain, I think, finishes second, I think. I'm not sure, but I think it was second. But I'm very happy. It makes you feel good when everyone can add points to the game. So it was a great experience, and it made us to be like a unity that we hadn't that opportunity before in a tournament.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I asked before coming to the live, I asked the other team members, like French team members, if there was anything they'd like to say about their experience in Helens. And first of all, they would like to thank the UK for hosting. And they also pointed out that it was very professional, and they were impressed by how the games played out, basically, because we have one referee, and I think that's pretty amazing. The fact that it all ran out pretty smoothly, and the games, even though we were competing, I think we were all kind of in sync with the same goal, which was to play Quaternity, basically. And so for me, it was my first tournament ever, so it was a great experience. Yeah.
Anna, do you have any thoughts? So,
I'm kind of nervous. Okay. I think like I was quite a newer player, so when we had like the qualification rounds in Germany, I just went there, even though my mom was originally registered to participate in the
registered to
tournament.
play, yeah.
Yeah. So I played for her, and then I didn't qualify originally, and I think like in June, I was asked to come and play them. And I was quite nervous because I thought, okay, well, it's an international tournament and I'm not that good of a player. So I then when I learned that I had to come, or I was asked to come, I started playing it more regularly every Monday with the other players from Germany. So yeah, I think that was quite exciting. And then when I was there, my plan was just to have fun. And even though if you don't win, it's still like a fun play, and you kind of learn different things. You also have to pay attention to when you play in general. Like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Sorry, I had a brain fart because I saw people and I was like, I thought I saw a comment, but I did not. But if y'all do want to leave comments and have questions for players, you should please go ahead before Richard, I didn't forget you, to be clear. Just but yeah, if you have any other questions that you'd like me to ask as we're going through this, please do. I'm sure everyone here would also love to hear from you and hear what you're thinking. But UK, go on. I wouldn't do that to you after your comment.
Thank you. Firstly, like Lara said, big shout out to Stefan, our referee, because he did an amazing job to be like refereeing 5 games at once and keeping us all in order and keeping the clocks working and keeping the scores and just keeping the whole thing ticking over. He did an amazing job. So we wouldn't have been able to do it without him. So that was really good. On the team aspect, I guess we were very conscious of it being a team event. I guess because we had been planning it for a while, designing the structure of the tournament. So we were very keyed into this sort of team element, and we said before how we've been practicing as a team and trying to build up some, team spirit and unity between ourselves. I would say the games on Saturday were kind of, in terms of strategy, it was pretty much, just play your games, everything. And try and get as many points as you can. But what was nice was you played your game, and then you kind of, if you finished, you could go and watch other games, and you were super invested in watching other games in terms of who you're cheering on, and you felt that in the room there was more kind of there were people supporting different people in the games, which in a regular tournament you're kind of watching and you might have a player you like or whatever, but you're generally kind of just watching the game. Whereas here there was much more sense of what's the word? Can't think of it, but you're kind of invested in a particular team and who you're kind of supporting, which creates a lot more kind of excitement and energy kind of around watching it. But we had a really good Saturday, and we had quite a good lead coming out of Saturday, and I think then we really felt it on Sunday morning because it felt like everyone was coming to attack us. Particularly in my game, I was absolutely ambushed by Spain. Particularly Hugo came at me, and everyone else jumped on top, and it was just like when 3 people just pile on, and it's just like, hang on. So we really felt that, and I think all the UK players had that because of the lead, and that's kind of expected. That's the kind of what you're going to expect. And Hugo said afterwards, his strategy was to take me out because we were kind of in the lead. So you may not be the part of that discussion, Lewis, but that's what he told me. So anyway, so then this was like problematic because you're like, well, you need to do well. You want to score points in the tournament, but if you get too far in the lead and everyone's you got a target on your back, and that was problematic Sunday morning. But we actually did quite well. Javier managed to get 5 points miraculously in his game, I think.
Sorry, it was my game.
I was watching that game because I was killed very quickly on Sunday morning, and I was watching Javier's game, and yeah, he came back from the death to kind of steal the 5 points. So we actually came out Sunday morning still with a really good lead. But what happened was Spain had also they were second, and by a long way as well. And looking at the leaderboard, it was like, well, I think Italy and Germany could mathematically catch up, but they would have had to, swept the board pretty much. So we saw that Spain were our only rival for the championship. And so we discussed it as a team. I think Sophia wasn't playing anyone from Spain, but myself, Neil, and Javier all were. And Javier was in the final. So, I mean, we had to bear that in mind as well. But but the discussion was basically, if we get no points and Spain get no points, it's going to be really hard for them to catch us up. And so while we were playing to get points and playing the game, it was like at certain points in the games where you have to make a decision: do I go left or right, or or then it was like, well, at those points, Spain are not our, Spain are the enemy in this round of games. And particularly for me and Neil, I think for Javier, because he was in the final, we were like, well, you've got to play the final and do whatever you need to do to win the final, because that's, you don't get many chances to win a final. But for the other games, we were very conscious that if we could keep Spain from scoring points, that was as good as us scoring points. And that's kind of how it played out in the final round. I have to admit, I didn't do a very good job of that, because Noel killed me in my game and he got the 2 points. But by that point, because it was quite cool, because we had people kind of wandering around, and so I was getting information from the other games. So even at that point, I knew that I think Spain had only got 1 point from their other 2 games. So, and then I died, but I kind of took Noel out with me, and so he only got the 2 points. So it kind of led to the final being the key, and we knew that at that point that Luis and Jorge needed 5 points in the final to tie the tournament, and so that led to a really exciting, because I don't know if viewers know, but the final was being played in the music room, which is the very lovely fancy room that you see on the photos, and we were all in like this big barn, and the other games were going on there, and so. And because the final was being broadcast, we all tuned in. We had it on laptops and phones, and everyone was like, it was like watching the World Cup final or something. We all tuned in, and everyone knew what needed to be done, or what the scores were going into that. So it was super exciting. I mean, it was probably my favorite bit of the whole weekend, was just that anticipation and as that final developed, because it really could have gone any way. What we could see that Javier was. I mean, I think Luis and Jorge were kind of. We knew they tend. I'm probably speaking for you, Luis, but it's a strategy to go to the left in the games, and that's where Javier was. So it was like face to face in that match, and you were kind of taking bits out of each other.
You mean in the final, Richard?
Yeah, in the final.
Yeah, I wanted to talk something about this, because for me the most interesting situation during the whole games, I mean, it was all a process, and every game was different, right? For example, in the game Sunday morning, for Jorge and me, actually, I thought that we didn't have any game plan or something like in team, just to give everything. But mathematically talking, we were in the final already when we rise up in the morning on Sunday. So our game plan was to enjoy the last classification match, just to enjoy and to do so. And at the end, it was good. But in the final, I mentioned before that it didn't go as I expected, and the reason is because we have one player that I think, or we thought that he could have less experience from the Germany team, and Javier and Renato, they were more experienced. So we thought that, because he was in our right, we thought that we had less chances to checkmate him, the German player. So our game plan, yes, was to attack, to start active on our left to Javier. But we started exchanging challenge pieces and everything, and then the game stuck totally. And we spent like 40 minutes like moving up, queen down, queen up, queen down. And after 40 minutes, it was funny because Jorge was desesperated. I mean, we were conscious that many friends or many followers were watching the final on YouTube and this. And we were nervous because we didn't want to show that this is the game. This could be part of the game, sadly, sometimes, but this is not for me, it's not like a honest way to play, no? Just to moving up, moving down, moving up. I just wanted that someone to make the first move to attack him or something. So after 40 minutes, Jorge was desesperated and he stand up and he said, Luis, I need to talk to you, but not here because Javier understands Spanish, obviously. So we went out of the room and he was like, okay, we can do the following things. We can stay 5 more hours moving up and moving down because I know this is going to happen 5 more hours, but this is not the thing that we want to show to everyone, or we can start doing things. But we are going to take a big risk and probably we will not win the final if we do this, or we can wait. And he say, look, we are here to play. I trust 100% in you. So we had the possibility to take Javier's rook with our bishop. We have been threatening that piece for the last, I don't know how many moves. So I told Jorge, let's take that piece and let's see what happened, but let's move forward. And we took the risk, and obviously we didn't get the final. But for me, that decision was right, even now that I know that we didn't get the success in the final. No?
Sure.
You can see if you see the replay of the final where you were commenting the final in the minute 55. I check in the minute 55. You can see how we two stand up, and we leave the game for 2-3 minutes. We leave the clock running.
Wow. We definitely, I remember noticing that. I don't know if we said anything about it, but I know that we were, at one point, we were like, what is happening? Because we were sitting, well, Trace and Chico were not present, and I was in a different room, and none of us really knew what was going on, and we were trying to figure out from like the way people were. But that's really actually very interesting to learn that that's what was going on. And truly that final, like I'm echoing Richard's sentiments, absolutely. It was incredible, and all of y'all really, it was a very, very interesting game to comment. And certainly after y'all started just going for it, like we noticed, as I'm sure you've now learned, because we were really seeing how people were moving and how the energy was flowing, and that was really cool. I'm going to take a quick minute because we have a lot of comments, so I'm just going to take a second to acknowledge our audience. Cecilia, hi, thank you for joining us. She says, well done, girls. May we have even more in future tournaments, specifically more ladies to play. So that's for y'all three. Thank you.
And you?
Sorry. Well, I didn't play, so but yes.
Okay, good.
So Luis and Richard, we still love you, but that was for the win.
Thanks.
And then Gazala says hi. So hi, Gazala. All of us say hi back. Anna, your teammate Sue is also watching, and she says she's very happy to see all of us. And we have a very interesting question from someone who Anna should know very well. Anna, your mom asks us, and I think she has a really interesting question. She says, could you please say something about the time? Sometimes you have a very fast dynamic, and sometimes you have to have very good resilience to play further. But I think her point is fair. It's like, how do you manage the time in a situation like this?
Like in a tournament?
And actually, yeah, in a tournament, but Luis, I'm going to go specifically to you just now because you said you left your clock running, which was not something that I at least realized. So then I think that's like particularly, this is a good point to ask you that. So like, how were you thinking about time with the game?
Yeah, it is a very interesting question because of the way that the final went finally, no? And it took, I think, 2.5 hours or something like that. That for me went a bit too long. Thankfully, we were two and we were, but splitting like the focus, but it was a bit long, and I understand that for the audience as well. Normally, we are used to play online that, for example, 5 minutes plus 3 or 7 plus 3, 8 plus 5, something like that. Online is quicker to move because when you are in real, you have to take the time to move the pieces and everything. But this final was 25 plus 5 or something like that, which
I think it was 25 plus 8. Yeah.
Plus 8. So you have long. Time more than enough to let you think about everything. Also, I think that experience give you a vision, right? It's not my case because I have short experience, but Jorge, he has longer experience, and he has already this capability to anticipate the moves. So and to see the whole big table or
Board.
the board, it is very big, and it could be happening many different situations at the same time, different intentions, but experience give you this capability, and of course training to see this, so you will be able to manage more efficiently the time.
Yeah. I've actually seen Jorge do this before in other tournaments. I played against him in the semifinal in the Spanish summer tournament, and he did the same thing. He got up, he left for a couple of minutes, and it's a very interesting strategy just for yourself to get a fresh look at the board and calm down your nerves a little bit, get yourself out of that stressful situation, and also changing the dynamic of the game because you don't expect that. So if your opponents are not fully in the game and are not capable of keeping themselves centered, it will throw you off completely. So, it might seem counterintuitive, but it's a great strategy.
Yes, it happens as well. It's not the intention, but of course, it changed the energy of the current situation totally, because makes you put your eyes up. It's like a football player when he has the ball and he want to make a goal, but just looking the ball, you will not make a goal. You have to put your head up and see where is the other players, where is the porteria, we say in Spanish. I don't know where you have to put the goal and everything. No, sometimes you have to stop and put the head up and see what's happening. Part of only the pieces.
So, Anna and Lara, I'm curious to hear from both of you because Anna, you said you're much newer to the game in general, and you were like, and this was also your first tournament, similar to Lara. So for both of you, how did you find this interaction with time? Because I know Richard plays a lot and is very humble, but is very, very good. Daria is much the same as Richard. And Luis, of course, was in the final. So that speaks for itself, even if he's like, perhaps wasn't as experienced as Jorge. But for both of you, what was that like interacting with that element in this kind of a setting?
Do you wanna? Okay. Yeah, so for me, it was the longest games I've played because I'm used to, as Luis said, to playing shorter games online, so 8-minute games. And also blitzes, which are just 5 minutes, and then you have to do stuff off the bat because you don't have time, basically. So it was an interesting experience, and I clearly need to learn how to manage my time a little bit better because I lost my time 2 times. Yeah, which was annoying. I don't like losing my time. I'd rather get checkmated because I feel like it's more honorable than anyway, losing my time. But yeah, so it was interesting because yeah, I had the time to think, which I don't usually do. Yeah, but it's something like it's another factor to be taken into account, and Anna, I'll let you.
Well, I think like the first time when I played in Germany, the tournament, there I had like a lot of trouble playing by time because it was really the first time and we played with 15 minutes. And then I had a lot of trouble with it. But then when I practiced with the other members from Team Germany, especially Michael, he told me always like, watch your time. You have to be careful that you don't like lose by time. So it was actually not that difficult to play with 20 minutes during the tournament because I kind of also thought it was a little bit too long sometimes because at the beginning, a lot of people did just like nothing happened. Like the first 10 minutes of the game, most people just did nothing. So I think like a little bit less time would have also been like good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and by the way, I was kind of frustrated just now when Richard mentioned Javier winning 5 points on Sunday, because that's one of the games I lost by time, and I was so pissed because I
you
think
were in a strong position, Lara. You were in a very
I
strong position in
know.
that game.
I
Yeah.
know. Anyway, I'll get
That
over
game
it
was super
eventually.
interesting, Laura, not to keep putting you, not to make you keep reliving something you're clearly upset about. But I was also watching that game with Richard, and I remember that because you and Sue had such an interesting strategy. You had one of those unspoken alliances that are so common in Quaternity. Because I mean, we all know how good Javier is. And we know he wins a lot, and we know sort of how he plays, and so that was really interesting to sort of see. I have a question for you that you can feel free, if you're like, don't quite know the answer to it, you can like, we can move on. But I remember there that to me, it seemed like when you were playing, you at first, you and Sue were really aligned, and it was like there, and y'all were there. And then I think the time pressure started getting to you. And then somewhere you flipped what you were doing. Is that actually what happened for you as well?
Yeah, I kind of became desperate at some point, and I just, yeah, kind of flipped my game in a way because I like kind of knew I couldn't win Javier at his game, which was dumb. I could have maybe, but I just switched my strategy and it clearly didn't work, and I just gifted him the mate and lost my time. So it was very frustrating, yes.
But it's also hard. Like, I mean, I would just remember what everyone else has said about it takes time, pun not intended, to like get to a point where where you're comfortable. Like it's hard. It's time pressure.
Yeah, and I was also very scared, like playing everyone basically because it was my first tournament and I knew the level was very, very high. And by the way, the French team, we all agree that we were dealing with very high skilled players who are very trained. They people play every day and are very in the game. And we're willing now to make more of an effort. Even though we were playing like weekly games and prepping a little bit, I think it was not nearly as
For sure.
well. We were not as nearly as well. No, not. I don't know how to say this.
You didn't feel as prepared as you
I'll
wanted to.
translate, sure.
You made a great comeback at the end because I think you got 3 points, Lara, and Bruno got 5 points in the last round. So you shot back up the leaderboard. So I guess it bodes well for the next tournament that you left this tournament on such a upward trajectory.
100%.
Yeah, hopefully. I think the pressure, I mean, as it was the last game, I was a little bit more relieved in a way and took the pressure off a little bit. And then I think it kind of flowed a little bit better. I mean, I don't know if that was the case for you guys, even though the points still counted. And
I think that was an important thing. I remember speaking to you, Daria, about it. I think about the first day you're playing and you put a lot of pressure on yourselves because it's a tournament and you don't. And I think that's why there was a lot of KG play, especially on Saturday, because people are like, it's a big tournament. You're playing for your country and your club, and you don't want to let people down, and you don't want to just go off and. But you have to play your natural game in these tournaments because that's how you play the game. That's how you get kind of.
Yeah. I, for one, am super excited for the next one, and I can't stop thinking about it. And I know that this one is exactly what Richard said. We, started playing and was like, wait a minute, I'm not just Daria. If I get 0 points, I don't get 0 points for me. I get 0 points for Italy. And I was very worried about being in a team with huge players. If you know the Italian team, very big people were there, and it was like, oh no, okay, so I have to play at that level. Especially the second game that I played on Saturday, I was disappointed by the end of it. Yeah, I was like, I played in a way that I don't want to play. This is not how I play. I'm not much of a defensive player. I was doing a lot of what Louise and Hod had talked about, the queen forward, queen back, queen forward. Like, that's not me. That's never how I play. But it got under my skin, even a little bit of that fear of embarrassment, which is not what Quaternity is about. And I'm sure nobody would have felt that. but it was a bit of a learning curve. And then on the second day, it was like, no, wait a minute. I'm going to do this the right way. I'm not going to leave here feeling embarrassed about the way I play. And even though the first game of the first day was really enjoyable, the second one was iffy. By the second day, we were just enjoying the fact that we got to do this all day. Got to do this with great people in a great location with a great format. So the second day became this super enjoyable thing, especially the last game, like Lada said, because whoever was going to be in the final was already in the final. So you got to play more fun. And I'm sure that once the next one comes around, we'll already have this memory and be like, okay, I know how to do this now. And I'm excited to see how that change of perspective is going to help in the next tournament.
I'm like already a little bit scared of Daria for the next tournament. I don't know about y'all. I just am. She's gonna wipe the board. She's gonna wipe
I've
the board.
always been, so won't change anything.
This time, I did not. Like I'm yeah. Well,
No, but it's not about what you did this time. It's about what you're taking to the next one, and you're clearly like you're a force. I keep telling you this. You're a force of nature, and you're like I can already picture you setting fire to like different things, and then at the end of it, we'll just be like, "Well, that was Daria. That's cool. It was nice knowing all of you, and it's great."
Hey.
But okay, so we have a couple of more comments. Anna Sue agrees with you that the long time makes the game hard for her and boring, and she prefers a shorter time. Gazala, though, says she prefers longer games. Oh, and apparently, Anna, you can confirm or deny in Berlin. Well, maybe you can't. I don't know if you've ever played with them in Berlin. But she says that they even have breaks to have coffee and cake in between games, which I just think is the best thing I've heard all day. I have never done this, and now I really want to. Just like you're having tea and you're like, no, we're just gonna pause and enjoy this like nice cake on the side and then come back to it. And yeah, people are quite interested in the conversation, which is lovely. So thank you guys for being here. I have one last question from my end, but this conversation is going really well. So like, please keep going. And I think there'll be more questions as they come. But something that I was really interested in, because I've just been reflecting a lot on the team aspect, like we talked about right at the beginning. However, what's really interesting about this specifically is that it's not like we've never played in a form of a team before. Like Luis and Jorge, you were a team. And that's sort of how we've always understood team tournaments so far. And I'm really curious. I think I am right. You are the only person on our live right now who actually played in a team of that form, right? Like with somebody else as your partner throughout the tournament. What is it for you? Like, how is it different approaching a quote unquote individual tournament as like a teammate versus like being in this kind of a team tournament? Or is there a difference? Am I overthinking it? Like, please, floor is yours.
Sorry, that's a question for me or?
Yes, that's a question for you.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I heard Daria, sorry. Yes, I think there were a couple of more teams playing in couples. I don't know actually who exactly. Well, for example, Renato in the final, he were playing with Alessandro, so they were a team as well. Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, the fact is that all tournaments, which is only 3 times that I have played so far, in Brazil and in Spain, in Arcos, and now the 3 times has been in a team. So I cannot say how it would be to play by myself alone a tournament. But the next time I want to try just for curiosity, and to be able to compare. But in any case, for me, I don't know. I can't talk about to play alone, but I can play about the experience to share this way of like to train and to participate in the team in Capel. And it's been very interesting, especially with Jorge, because we didn't know each other very well in the past, but for things in the life, we talk and we start training together and everything. And in fact, we have to stay in the same room in a pub near to Hellas this year. So we share all the trip and everything, and has been a wonderful experience in all the points of view. The thing is that when you share this experience, you are not only taking the experience to play, and to the game and to the conversation, no, that you can have with the other players by exchanging pieces or playing. But also you are sharing another different thing because you are supporting each other in every step. For example, in this tough situation that I mentioned before, when we stand up and we went out of the room, for me, this was like the point that we reached after all the process. To the unity that we got to say, okay, we are here together, no matter what's happened, but let's go for it. We are here to play and we'll go for it. And it's beautiful, actually. So for me, to play in a team give you extra things for me. But next time, after to play alone, I will talk about to play alone.
But I think there's something very insightful about what you just said, because you just said to play in a team gives you more and gives you more in an experience. But I would argue pretty strongly from everything y'all have said to me that playing in a team, even in the way that teams existed this time, also gave you a lot more in a way that maybe you've never experienced before.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, there is, I mean, there is also the other side of the coin, no? That we say in Spain. I don't know if you can say in English, but the other side of the coin that, for example, in my case, because I had not so much experience as the three team partners that I have had so far, which was Tom Akuragi from US. We played together in Brazil. Mario, my brother-in-law, that we played together in Arcos, and Jorge. And they three have more experience than me in chess and in Quaternity. Well, I don't know in chess, but in Quaternity for sure. So our game plan since the beginning, not to play, but the way that we agreed to play is that I would be like the main player, the player who moves the pieces, and if I have any doubt, I can discuss with him, or the second player would be like the coach during that moment. And then at the middle of the game, more or less, depending on every game, could be earlier or later, but we split and we change. So the other side is that I didn't practice so much about the finals, right? By playing together. It works anyway. The 3 times it works perfectly. Well, the first time I was a bit lost because this was my first tournament and everything. But in Arcos it was quite good. We got the semi-final as well, which was fine. But the thing is that when I play alone, I love to practice the finals because this is the luck I have so far.
Absolutely. Luck, and I would argue a good amount of skill. I mean, I love how much humility there is in this room, but y'all are very good players. You were at the European Championship for a reason. But yeah. Okay. I have 2 really sweet comments that I have to share with y'all because it's so sweet reading them. But Ghazala says, Quaternity is life, and just listening to you 6 is that proof. So thank you, Ghazala. That's very, very sweet. And Sue says Quaternity is for friendship, which I think we can all agree. We've definitely left this tournament as friends because I think the only person I'd met in person, Richard was the only guy I'd met in person prior to this tournament. So it was really fun to and Louise, you and I had never met at all. We didn't, and Anna too, we never met even online. So I think that's certainly true is that the game absolutely sort of encourages that friendship and that sort of bond. And I think something that I've really, as an outside observer, really appreciated is what y'all were also saying and what you experienced of there was no cattiness, there was no the sportsmanship was at an all-time high. People were there to be there for the game. And I really think that's such a testament, obviously, to the caliber of player, but also to the game itself. I think the game really brings out, it has the ability to bring out the best in you. And I think that's why the championship was what it was. Did y'all have any other thoughts? Because I know what I wanted to end on because I wanted to give one person here a compliment that I've given him 3 times, but I'm going to give it again because I think it's important.
There was a situation in the final I wanted to talk about, but I don't know if it's a space for doing it now. It's a little bit nerdy going into a particular situation, but it was because I was watching it again. Well, I was watching it for the first time this week, the final on YouTube, and I have to say, what a brilliant show it was. It was amazing, Priyanka. You and Chico and Shreyas did a fantastic job. And when you watch it back, you can see all the commentary of all our friends around the world, all the Quaternity community were like posting comments. Some of them particularly spicy. It was great, like digging into players and like, why are you doing this? Why are you not doing that? And it's fantastic to watch back and just see the comments as well about the game. But there was one situation, because I remember before the tournament, Michael was saying about how sometimes these tournaments bring out another level of play, or is seeing where the game's going. And this situation was just like something you sometimes see in games online when it's a lot of people who play a lot are very expert players, and it was you might remember this. So I'll describe it as I saw it when I watched it on the YouTube, Lewis, and you might have your own take on it. But basically, it was where Joseph had a checkmate on Javier. It was quite early in the game. It was like about an hour into the game. And then Lewis and Jorge spent a while just debating this, because it's like, well, do you take the kind of, the perceived wisdom in this situation is Javier's got to get himself out of, block this checkmate. And you could see that Lewis and Jorge are really going, are we going to take advantage of this and go for Javier? But the beautiful thing about this was that Javier knew that Renato was going to go next, and Renato had a blockable situation on this. And so I think yourself, Lewis, and Jorge, you were like, this is a final, and probably based on what you were saying earlier, you're like, this is a final, we need to get this rolling. And so you came in with your rook and took his central pawn, and Javier instantly responded by taking your rook away with his knight. And it was like, Javier was just like, take that, because I'm not worried about this checkmate. And then it was Renato's turn, and Paul Renato was like, what are you doing? Because it's like he had to sacrifice his bishop to protect the checkmate. And Javier obviously knew what was, he knew that there's no way Renato's going to let him, Joseph checkmate him. So he could rely on that. And I think, were you discussing this with Jorge? Is Javier going to rely on Renato?
This is a part of the move that I talked about before. This is the other two, and there is three. Very, for me, the most interesting, the top three most interesting moves in the 2 hours and a half. This was the second. To be honest, Richard, we didn't see the bishop of Renato. We didn't see. So we thought that Javier was obligated to stop the checkmate from Joseph, and we took advantage. We took a pawn with our rook by risking our rook. But in Quaternity, you know that you have not only to consider the strategics and the potential moves, but also to be able to be in the head of the other players, because you don't know what they are thinking about. Many emotions and everything, and I cannot talk for Javier what he thought on that moment. I can only say that we didn't see that Renato could stop the bishop, and Javier moves very quick. So I can't talk about Javier, but my question is, because Javier were close to lose, and if we put this rook inside of his the place of the pieces, he were going to have a big troubles. So Javier, and it's funny because we crossed the look on that moment, and he said yes, yes. And I thought, okay, I thought he's giving the checkmate to Joseph, because we lost our rook and we were not going to win the final. But Joseph is going to take the checkmate on that moment. And my question is, this is a personal intimidity, but anyway, I will tell you for everyone. My question is if Javier realized about that bishop or not. Because if he realized, it was a great move. But if he didn't, he gave the checkmate to Joseph by knowing the consequences.
Yeah. And so, maybe that was in the wider strategy of what he was thinking at that point. It's interesting, and maybe Javier's watching. If he is, can he answer a question? I was going to ask him. I was going to call him and ask him, but then I was like, I liked my interpretation. I didn't want him to go. I didn't see the bishop. I was like, I thought this was just such a good move of Javier's. I didn't want to ruin it by him not having seen that bishop. But and it was the fact he moved so quickly afterwards. It was, I felt that he had looked whilst you were, because I think you guys took a little while to make your move as well. And I think I thought that he had looked at it and gone, if they take my pawn, I'm going to instantly reply because Renato's there. But I don't know. I'll have to confirm with him at some other day, unless he's watching online and he can message us.
I suppose that we'll never know. But anyway, this happened. This is Quaternity as well. We took our risk. We knew that we have a risk with that move because a pawn. It's true that it's the super pawn, but a pawn with a rook, no point. This is one of the interesting moves, and the other. There was a move, I don't remember exactly the number, that we have for free the queen of Javier with our rook. And we could have it. And we were the player on that moment with less pieces in the board. We were the weakest on that moment, but we could take the white, I think it was red, no? Javier was red.
You were white.
Queen. Yeah. And it happened something interesting that when Javier didn't realize of this, we were like, okay, we have the queen, and the game is going to equilibrate a bit at least. But Renato attacked our queen and didn't allow us to take the queen of Javier. So we thought maybe Renato considered that the game is still equilibrated, even though when we have only like two pieces or something like that. This was very interesting. They made an alliance of defense, and for Renato it works finally. So
yeah, it was a very interesting situation. I was looking at about why did he do it, and it felt like to me he felt that Javier having his queen on the board was going to help him at that time because of the balance of power. Maybe because he felt like you had a better chance of checkmating him, or if not, but it was. I feel like he did do it deliberately. I don't think it was a kind of because sometimes you do it by mistake, but I felt like it was a deliberate ploy of his at that point. Yeah. There's a really cool play in that final, I have to say. And I watched it back this week, and it didn't feel like it was back and forth at all. I was completely engrossed in the whole thing. It was really delicately poised.
Yeah, I want to mention something now here in public in defense of Joseph, because everyone talk about his turtle strategy to be like very close up. Yes, everyone. I saw the comments on YouTube, and many people were talking about this. And I have to say that Joseph, he knew that he were not so experienced like Jorge, Javier, or Renato, and I think he got to the final in the last classification game, but I'm not sure because I don't know exactly. But he was very nervous, and I mean, he took his strategy and still valid. I mean, it's Quaternity, and he knew that it was his only way to survive. And in fact, it was the only thing is that maybe he didn't see the checkmates or something like that, but he knew that this could happen to him. And in fact, even Jorge and me, we thought that Javier and Renato were going to attack him quickly. So maybe he thought the same, and he protect all the pieces. So I don't know. Everyone can play as everyone wants. I mean,
definitely. I think you're right. He was probably the least experienced there, and he was playing a certain strategy, a kind of longer game. In those terms, I think his one mistake was kind of giving it to Renato on Javier. The checkmate on Javier on Renato.
He could checkmate us. Yeah, he could checkmate us on one move. And then he would remain only with Renato. The only thing is that in that move that he could have checkmate us, Jorge and me, I'm talking about Joseph. If he did that, he would have lost the queen, and Renato has 2 queens. So many people say, okay, another checkmate that he didn't realize. Okay, but if he checkmate us, he would be lost anyway.
And he had the difficult position as well because he came into the final with the least amount of points. So for him to actually win overall, he would have had to either win by 5 points or 3 points in the final, which is very tricky. So fair play to Joseph because he did really well to get into the final.
Yeah,
that's right.
Especially ahead of Michael, as we all know, is like
Exactly.
champion.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Times.
Yeah, I was surprised that Michael didn't get the final or close to the final. But Quaternity, I mean, it not only for example, you were doing a fantastic tournament, and well, you mentioned that Hugo could have a more aggressive game against you, and Quaternity doesn't depend only on you. I mean, exactly. You can do a lot, but there is one point that from that point, it doesn't depend on you.
Yeah, you have to put yourself in a position, but then it doesn't, that's all you can do. That's one of the fun things about it, it's that there isn't the same control as other things. You kind of, you try and do the right things, get yourself the opportunities, try not to die, and then you kind of have to see what happens.
Yeah, that's life.
So Branka, did Javier tell us what he was thinking?
He did not, unfortunately, which means we're all going to have to live with the mystery. However, Quaternity is in fact life, as Gonzalo mentioned before, and you are correct. That is life, and that is Quaternity. And I think we're going to wrap up because it's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And I know for a fact, if we sat here, we would probably sit here till like midnight my time. However, I think everybody would like to go home and I'm going to let y'all do that. But before I do, I really do want to share for everyone watching and for you guys. I was so impressed with the ways in which players carry themselves. And I think the moment that really encapsulated the way in which people approach this tournament, which I thought is really worth noting, is you, Richard, because I don't know if you remember, and I've certainly said this to you 3 times, so you should. But I remember like you guys were saying, at the end of day 1, you seem to be England's champion, and there's a few people who really thought it was going to be you, and yeah, I mean, a lot of people you're a great person, and obviously, like if you were representing UK, that would have been wonderful. And then Sunday went the way it did because you were the strongest guy on the board, like in terms of the leaderboard, and you're a great player, and so. It didn't happen. And I remember coming up to you and going, hey, like, sorry this happened, etc. And I remember I've said this twice. I've said this on the earlier live, and I mean it every single time. Richard said to me, yeah, but I wanted Javier to get the 5 points because that's better for the UK. And I think that really is that is so worth mentioning again and again, because that attitude and that approach is, I think, really what paid off for the UK team. And also is what absolutely characterized this tournament and what made it so special. So Richard, I just wanted to tell you that again. I really think it bears mentioning.
That's sweet of you, Brank. I don't know what's. I mean, we were focused on the team tournament, So watching the games, it was just like, let's get as many points as we can, and then the individual thing is what it is. So yeah it really was our laser focus was on winning the team thing.
And it clearly paid off.
It was a miracle because, I don't think we were actually that confident. Javier was confident, but the rest of us were. Well, he was at least doing the positive mental attitude. The rest of us were like, well, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. That has been us. Sue says thank you for all your effort and friendship. And honestly, we say the same back to all 20 of you watching. Thank you for joining us today. I know that I had an absolutely incredible time listening to these monsters talk about their game, even though they won't agree with that term. But y'all are. And thank you for joining us on live. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you, audience members, for giving us your time. If you enjoyed our content and you'd like to see more of this, please stay on our YouTube, subscribe. We also have an Instagram where some of you hopefully may have come from. You should come and follow us on there too. We're on practically every single social media on the planet. Follow us everywhere. We're fun. We have you look at us. You want to see our faces. So come join us more and you'll see a lot more of us in the days to come. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you soon.
Bye.